12 months ago, 36 men, women and children were cast adrift on the island of Taransay so they could try to find out what was really important in their lives. With just 2 weeks before they leave, we've asked them what's turned out to be heaven
Golly.
and what's been hell.
These are pretty deep questions.
Before they left for the island, we asked everyone what would be their worst fears for the year ahead.
Worst nightmare? I don't know, hurricane, I should think.
A howling gale, the house you're in collapses, it's pitch black and it's lashing with rain.
Everyone's arguing, everyone's shouting, possibly tears.
No, I'm going actually. In cup.
People falling out, backstabbing, bitchiness, which you get when you're in a large group.
I'm really upset and disappointed by this.
If I became a target of abuse from a certain section of the community.
I said I'm not a part of the project, so put the camera down.
Hell, there's other people.
You want to bully somebody, Peter, you come and bully me. You come and bully me. If there wasn't women and children in this room, I'd throw this plate at you.
We also asked them what they hoped would be the highs.
The happiest moment.
Big fire, big party, everyone involved. That'd be the best moment on the island for me.
Just that sense when you look around a circle and you see that everyone's as a community together.
The group being the same group at the end of the year.
The night before I come home to say I've done it.
So, 12 months on, what has the experience of the year actually taught them?
Well, January is my favourite month here, believe it or not. The ironic thing is that that was the one month when, half the community refused to be here.
It was a month which was both heaven and hell for the group. They suffered accidents and injuries. Personal belongings were dropped in transit to the island.
It's ruined.
Winds of over 100 miles an hour hit the site, causing damage to buildings.
Half the roof off the whole of the toilet block has come off. And it's still January.
Everybody's ill, and there's just not enough food.
And a combination of illness and delays in the accommodation being ready meant only half of the community were living on the island.
After you.
Despite the difficulties for those staying on the island, this was a honeymoon period.
Go on, take his crutch out, Porrig.
Mikey's the new boy in town. He's got a head start. Porrick's there well before, but he's had a few weeks' progress.
Right.
He's had really given it over. Porrick's given it swears. He's an outside and he's coming out on the inside. This is like throw, but he might make it to first man who is in his best. And he's over the
I think it was a bit too big a head start. It was a brilliant month. It was brilliant. But, it was all new. It was exciting. Didn't really know everyone that well.
But they're the same size, that's the stupid thing. They're exactly the same.
I can't believe that you were comparing crutches.
Oh, we've got a very nice crutch. We've suddenly got something a bit more in common, haven't we, Mike? That's it. Next thing you know, we'll be in bed together.
No. It was full of humour and it was full of fun and it was full of happiness. It was such a happy month.
During those high spirits came a competition where some of the lads dared each other to grow a beard for 6 months.
Be the four of us, Trevor, Ben, Patrick and me. Yeah. Tanya, would men growing a beard reduce their pulling power?
It's just that sort of innocence we had in January.
Simple yes or no will do.
Oh, you felt so free and just got rid of everything, and it was like, wow.
If I grow everything, like all hair down to here and beard down to here, is that going to reduce my pulling?
Does it change your voice as well when you grow up?
Because I have to talk like this afterwards.
Like children again, and we kept making reference, it was like sort of famous five or whatever, but it was. And running around looking in rock pools going, oh, look at this, and oh, there's a seal over there, and feeling like you were 7 again.
We were thrown into chaos, and we had to try and make some semblance of normality out of it. And that was our bond. That's what bonded us together. It was a uniting month.
Yes, it would dramatically reduce your pulling power. Wow!
For the other half of the community waiting across the water on Harris until the island was ready, this was a difficult time and tensions were running high.
There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of, when is this really going to get going?
All of our dreams about being on the island and forging this community are just so fragile.
We don't want to be there until it is leak-proof, warm.
Tammy was the only one from the younger group who was forced to stay off the island due to illness.
My January was absolutely atrocious. I spent a couple of weeks in a hotel room, sort of dying in bed. I realised friendships were being formed and I was missing out on a part of it. It became obvious that I was very much an outsider and that there was a lot of ground to be made up.
There was another hidden reason for this being an issue for Tammy. The first time they met on the selection week, Ben and Tammy were attracted to each other. So Tammy had reason to expect a blossoming romance would be waiting for her on the island.
We got on quite well. Very well. And we did flirt quite a lot that week. When the week was over, I actually met up with her a couple of times.
By the time they were both selected, they were excited about the prospect of spending the year together.
But then, you know, the more I saw her, the more I realised that it was never going to be. So we sort of had a chat after she came here late in January. Admittedly, it was more my decision, probably than Tammy's, which she sort of resented me for.
Because of that, there was a possibility and then there wasn't. It's sort of very hard for a while because normally in real life you would walk away from somebody and not see them again. But the fact that you're now living at such close quarters with somebody that there could have been a potential with or not was again adding to the strain of the island life, of settling in, establishing your place, friendships and everything else. So for me it was very, very, very strained time.
But for those on the island from the outset, there had been some love interest. The delay in the individual accommodation being ready meant people were getting closer than expected, sleeping in the schoolhouse.
I think it's at an angle there, Toby.
Do you know what number bed this is, everyone? 13. I'm looking for all of us.
You know, our beds were, you've got this much room, you know, you sort of stick your leg out and they're like, oh, sorry, it's like your bed, not mine, sort of thing. And we did, in the end, push the beds together. We had this huge bed with sort of 6 of us sleeping on it. And we used to roll over and say goodnight to each other and kind of roll over to the next person, have a little chat, and then roll back again. No, there's 15 of us in here now.
I think it may possibly be, Toby.
I want some space.
There's been some romance already. I'm not saying with who, but I think it's very early for a fortnight, you know, to start these relationships.
Who's knocked who so far on Taransay? Porrick, that's confession time. I want to know.
You are a stunner!
It It was in fact Porrig and Philly who were trying to keep secret that they were in a relationship.
I'll be singing Colleen That's Crouching a Mo every morning, which is an Irish song about a guy who falls in love with a milkmaid.
When the project started, there were 8 single castaways. Before they'd even met, what were their romantic expectations for the year?
Romance on the island, if there was, yes, certainly. But it'd have to be carefully looked at, obviously. Go 10-pin bowling or something, take her out, see how she feels, go for the coffee.
If it's going, yeah.
I think that could be very dangerous, to be honest.
The big worry that I had that what would happen if, say, I slept with a married man or something on the island. Can you imagine? And they've got this confession box, and suddenly the whole of the British nation hates me.
I'm not gonna going out there looking for it, and if it's not there, so what? A year's not that long.
It would be an added bonus.
By Valentine's Day, external influences were playing their part. Ben's popularity in the programmes meant he got a lot of post from admirers.
You can't imagine. Okay, that's a slightly more open one.
Why did it say that?
You want me to say? You can't imagine how my mind constantly thinks about ripping off all your clothes and giving you a right good seeing to. Just a shame you're not here, isn't it? Because I think I'm going to keep them from now on, and each year I'm going to just reopen them, because I don't think this is going to happen again. So I'm trying to enjoy it while it lasts.
But Ben's main companion on the island was not human.
Inca, as you can see, is big. Look at her.
Well, I decided to play safe, get myself some Jorex just in case. Thinking about it, I'll just check the sell-by date. Yeah, 2002.
Before he left for Taransay, Trevor prided himself on his ability to woo the ladies.
Nicknames, girlfriends, Bendy Wendy, Tricky Tracy, Randy Mandy, Sexy Sylvia, Lizzie Lipstick, Thin Lizzie, Angel Angie, and enough.
But on the island, things didn't quite go according to plan.
There's a bit missing.
Oh, don't worry, it'll grow again. Yeah, go on then. If you like. Haven't been laid yet, but it's okay. Loads of cold sores as normal. Well, that was it. Still haven't been laid. What is it? The 6th of March. So it's been like 3 months.
But one person on the island was getting more of Trevor's attention than anyone. Trish Brater.
Just wish Trevor stopped proposing, starting to get on my wick.
I must admit, I do try and ask her to marry me at least 3 times a week when we're on kitchen duty. You can quite often find me on my knees. I'm not looking for a knife or drop, I'm just proposing.
He's starting to get holes in his knees.
But she said no every time, which, you know, that's par for the course. So I just now go, Trish, and she goes, no, cut some carrots. Trish, cracking girl, she still won't marry me. Don't know why, but, you know, I'm doing my best. Got another 7 months, I'll wear it down, don't worry.
As the year went on and they spent more time together, Trevor and Trish did at least become good friends.
Trevor and I got on really, really well, and I'm quite surprised because when I first met Trevor at the beginning, he was quite honest about his background and what he'd done. And he's just somebody you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot barge pole because he's just Jack the Lad reputation, you know, go out, get drunk, pick somebody up and go home.
A lot of time you can spoil a relationship by diving in too quickly. Or, you know, you dive into bed and dive out of bed and then you find out what name they are and then you go. So why spoil something that's running really nice? It's romantic in a different way of maybe what I would have seen romance before. It's romantic in a sense of you can spend time, there's no pressures, no hassles.
Yeah, I just ignored it first because he was a Jack the Lad. But then when we actually started talking and all that comedian stuff dropped, you know. It's like two different people. Somebody that's really, really serious. And then it's just like two different people. Puts on a good front, but once you shut the door, you know, it's like somebody taking a mask off.
I've learnt an awful lot about myself. Some things I like, some things I didn't like. Things I didn't like, hopefully I'm trying to change, or, you know, while my personality or my character's stripped down, building up in a complete different way. I hope I'll never go back to being that Jack the lad, and that, because I'll be drawing my pension shortly, so, you know, I don't be doing that at that age.
So has he got a chance?
Yeah, he has, actually. Yeah, he has. Good chance.
On haircuts.
Others were adamant they weren't on the island to pursue the opposite sex.
I didn't come here for romance. I came to grow a beard.
It's the spring equinox, March the 21st, a time of regrowth and new things coming through, so it's time to get rid of the old and allow a fresh crop of beard hair to grow through.
Toby was one of the last to hold out in the beard competition, although he gave up 3 months before the deadline.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. Top view. Hi, Ben.
Get the fluff off.
Toby, do you realise you look about 11 now?
You really do. Babes in arms.
That's a year older than you, Ben.
His talk of not looking for romance was now in question.
When I said I didn't come to this island to pull, I came to grow a beard, I wasn't actually lying. I grew the beard, got rid of it, and I felt kind of my life was empty without the beard, and I needed something else to replace the beard, and Tammy volunteered.
After months of courtship, Toby and Tammy finally announced in August that they were together.
He's just a wonderful guy. Nothing is too much bother for anyone. And that's when I saw this person that's sort of a little bit younger than me. And to actually, you know, a lot of people that age are careers, going out, whatever minded. And even though he probably is as well, and back out in the real world, he still thinks of others and is sensitive. No, not sensitive. It'd kill me if I use that word sensitive. Are we getting married?
Yeah,
No, we're not.
apparently. Well, you haven't proposed to me yet, but I'm always living in hope.
But you're always down on your knees to me. Because you are desperate.
I'm always on my knees to you. You keep kicking me in the legs. It's a good place to have a relationship because you've got so much time to spend working on it and making it blossom.
Do you think there is a community conspiracy going on? Because there have been a lot of people mentioning this broom jumping.
So we just,
it's the one Sandy bought.
Oh, go on. Just a little jump.
Go on.
That means we're married if we jump over.
No.
The downside is there's nowhere to bloody go. So dates can be a little bit monotonous. Another moonlight stroll, darling? Oh, God, yeah, all right.
No, because one to cross it. That's 50%. Right across it.
The acknowledgement of their relationship had a knock-on effect for someone else.
Stumbled the broom.
I'm glad for her because she's much happier. I'm out of the firing line finally, I hope. And she and Toby seem really happy, both of them. Really happy. They seem in love right now. They do seem very. I think they are a well-suited couple, and they certainly spend a lot of time together. A lot of time.
Now, as the end of the project approaches, what are their plans?
OK. State of play
Us at the
between
end of the
us.
year.
We're going back and carrying on as we've been doing here, yep? Is that a no?
What, we're going to find a little room and live in it together? And be freezing cold and... Hang on a minute, I didn't say I was going to do that.
Probably, because I'm not getting a job.
Seriously, I would like. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
We'd
We'd like to continue at the end of the year, finding each other, and that's about it. No, we'd like. We've got something good here, and it's worth pursuing next year.
But as the couples formed and spent increasing amounts of time together, others were left out. Some of the singles have found it difficult being on their own. Mike Laird, in particular, has had problems coping with this aspect of island life.
I found it a lot tougher than I thought I would. At the beginning of the year, I was saying things like, there are going to be people who are going to suffer. There are the family groups, the couples, and then the single people are going to find it hardest. And I never thought it would come down on me as it has. And at times I've just felt really, really low. I wouldn't say I've sunk into a depression in the true sense of the word, but at times I've just come in here, closed the door, sat in my chair and just, what is going on? And I felt really, really down.
See you at tea.
A lot of people said to me, did I kind of go to find myself, which is an expression which drives me up the bleeding wall. I think if anything, I'd have to turn that round and say that yourself finds you, and that's something I've discovered this year. My inner thoughts and mental baggage and things like that, they've crept up on me throughout this year. And that's something we've noticed, is that here there are limited distractions. A lot of the real world isn't reality. It's a distraction from what is reality. If you don't like it, go and find something else to do. Whereas here, you've got to face things. You can't run away from them.
There is no mainframe. There's nothing to hang everything around. We're making up our own rules as we go along. And for some people, that's really difficult to live with. There are people here that I think have slightly lost it and might regret being here, because being here was too big and wide and open and free for them. And they need some kind of heavyweight structure around which to order their lives.
In my last life, as such, in my previous life, and last year, I don't know what to call it now even, I'd just take things at face value, and I'd have an instant sort of emotional reaction. It wouldn't be as emotional as perhaps things have become here. And I think that's due to the sort of intensity of the situation. You have time to think and think and think and think about it. And I can just feel my emotions sort of going all the way up inside me. And that's never really... It's something I've never experienced before. I don't know if I really like it that much. I don't know if it's even healthy. Maybe it is. But it's something that I think is going to become a bit of a normal for me now.
I think I'm going to go back with a sort of different attitude towards life. Definitely more chilled, which would seem hard to envisage now the way I am. But when I look to the way I used to run my life manically, whether it was always having to have things done, even things some people would think as trivial as, ironing or cleaning or gardening or washing your car, I always had to have those things done. And now I'm just going to think, well, manana, just let it be done another day. I'm looking forward to going back and trying to live with some life changes, trying to be calmer.
What's the matter? Oh, it's a shit.
For many of the castaways, the highs of the year have revolved around the animals.
Oh, no.
Patrick, Gwyneth and myself are proud parents of a fresh litter of pigs.
I just can't believe it. I really can't believe that thing came out of her. She did it in secret. So naughty.
Discovering the calves and the foals and the chicks has been an enormous joy.
What has been my best moment with an animal? I'd blush if I told you that.
I've really enjoyed working with the cattle. Just rubbing them down and singing to them, massaging them.
What is your favourite animal on the island? The one that lands on your plate?
Angel, because she's just the funniest cow. She's got this real lopsided smile, and I don't know, She's quite a funny cow, I think. Good sense of humour.
I just think chickens are the most delightful creatures.
They have a real society. You can watch them going, oh, over here, and oh, really, over there, and you know.
I think it'll make me a better father by having 22 little chicks to look after. So it's given me something really quite special there.
In the springtime, Philly and Porrig adopted an orphaned lamb.
This is Scraggy.
Who's got no? Well, he has got a mum, but she's ill.
And she doesn't like him much. He's 2 days old, and we've been bottle feeding him cow's milk. Just for the last few hours. Meh, meh, meh. That's it, boy. Meh, meh. Well, he's a nice little rock of emotional security in a sea of changing moods, because he's never grumpy. All he wants is milk and a bit of company, and that's what he gets. He's no trouble. You have to warm it up a bit.
One of the changing moods was the couple's own. They had split up briefly in February and continued to have their problems.
My reason for coming here was to be single and not sort myself out, but sort of understand me a bit more. And suddenly, you know, I'm with someone. And yeah, it's nice to have a close person to share this island with, because it's fantastic. But it's a nightmare as well. And there's days I wish I didn't have it, because, you know, I'm being watched by not only 34 people here, but, you know, 6 million, 8 million people out there who are going to make comment on it. You know, how many people have had a relationship when, if you've had an argument or whatever, 10 people at breakfast want to make a comment on it. And had I had foresight, I wouldn't have got involved. And that's not a reflection on Porrig, that's just on being here in a relationship.
By early June, the pressures proved too much for Philly.
Philly and Porrig have split up. Don't know who's going to get custody of the sheep. So I think Porrig's going to be seeing the sheep mainly at weekends.
Well, it's been 3 days since me and Porrig have split up.
Been pretty much happy non-stop for the last 3 months, and now I'm not. Haven't been this low in a long time. I'm not sure how to deal with it.
So I feel very sad and I feel quite lonely at the moment. And I suppose the only way I can describe it, it sort of feels like there's been a death. And it's all very sombre and no one really wants to talk about it. But it's difficult.
Just want to be happy again. I don't know how. I suppose it will be at some stage, but it's always hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you're in the dark.
Normally you'd split up with someone and you'd go away, you know. Even if just for a week you'd have space that you didn't have to see each other. But here you have to get up, have to come downstairs, and you see that person at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner, socially. You know, they live in the same house basically.
Right, well that's something.
For Philly's immediate neighbour and friend Tanya, the stresses and strains between Porrig and Philly were felt more closely than most. As in other cases, Tanya's position as the main filmmaker made her friendship difficult.
Philly has basically withdrawn her friendship from me for the last couple of weeks. She basically thinks that I'm some sort of spy. She thinks that I've been listening at her door with a camera because we have adjoining rooms. I remember right at the beginning, you know, we wanted to have adjoining rooms because we were getting on so well.
Hello.
It just saddens me that someone can have that stronger misconception of who I am, someone who I was actually starting to get to know.
This was just one example of the challenges that living and working in the community for the entire year has brought for Tanya.
I don't think I'll ever feel like I'm a true castaway, because I am an observer rather than the observed.
Ray, I want to talk just...
Tanya's worst period on the island was in March, during the time when Ray Bowyer was trying to leave. Tanya bore the brunt of his frustration with the project.
This place does not feel safe for me anymore. I lock my door every morning. I lock myself in at night.
That's my job here, is to film everything, isn't it?
Yeah, but not me. I'm not a part of the project.
How does she look back on that time now?
All of the emotions that I was going through was related to my filmmaking, which I could talk to no one else here about. So not only was I sort of isolated along with everyone else just in terms of being here, I was isolated just because I had a different position.
I mean, Sandy, it might be interesting to look
So how does Tanya view the year as a whole?
I think that at its best, some of the filming here has been really unique. And the closeness, and the honesty. And it's been incredibly difficult at times, but it's also been incredible at times. And I've changed, I think, as a person. And I never go back from the point I am now. And so for me, the year has been a success overall, most definitely.
If the role of being behind the camera has entered the competition for the worst job on the island, there are also other clear candidates.
The worst job must be the compost toilets.
I think it's got to be the poo thing, isn't it?
They are absolutely disgusting. And there's nothing worse than going into the toilet and staring at somebody's turd, which is staring back at you. And you don't have to look down the pan, but for some reason, it just comes natural.
I'm what's known as peak knocking. And what happens is, the compost toilet fills up and a mound of faeces is formed. And you've got to push it all into the sides to spread it all out and maximise the volume. And this is an essential job.
Peak knocking. Definitely. I hate it. I hate it.
It's Monica's week for doing it.
Yeah.
But in my drunken state, I said, I'll peak knock for some chocolate. And Bon agreed.
Yeah, I thought about it for a couple of days and eventually, I decided that it was quite a good offer.
As soon as you start moving it, all the gases and things just go vroom, and honestly, it's the most putrid smell. Oh, completely sickening. Ah.
That was really bad.
I grab little bits of loo roll now and I stick them up my nostrils.
This is my beautiful artwork of pig knocking. Please take a look.
Poo in there?
No. It's quite artistic.
Oh yeah. Could be a work of art, actually. I've seen worse.
Mm-hmm.
Seen a lot stranger works of art than that.
Right, now for the women.
Work and contribution to the community has been one of the many issues which has caused tensions over the year.
What is all this anxiety about?
It's not anxiety.
Well, it seems like anxiety to me when people are crying and getting upset and feeling depressed and talking about leaving.
Yeah, but that's not to do with work. That's
Yes,
to
it is.
That's
It's to do with feeling worthless.
Well, we had an agreement. We made a clear agreement that there would be a certain degree of commitment.
Whereby in real life, if I don't get on with you, I can walk away from you, or I don't have to speak to you, or I don't choose to socialise with you, or I don't work with you, or whatever it is. There's an opt-out clause, whereas that opt-out clause isn't here. So we've just had to face up to things.
Peter has been one of the outspoken individuals standing up for principles, but it was his style that brought him into conflict with others.
Although I know I sometimes find myself cringing when Peter goes straight for the jugular or straight to the point, I know that the result will be better for having had it spoken.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
One person has found it particularly difficult to accept Peter's style. Since the outset, Gwyneth and Peter have had a long line of disagreements largely centred on a different outlook and how to resolve problems.
That is the big difference here. That was my way of doing it. And that's what this whole project is about. It's people with their own different way of doing things and accepting that and allowing them to do it. And eventually I got upset about that because, no, I don't mean that. You're getting the point. This is my trouble. I know what I mean, but it doesn't come out. And it's always been my trouble. But please allow me to do that. And don't make me feel a mere mortal because I can't do that. Because that's what comes across. And that's the friction that we have between us, is that just allow me to be me.
I've never stopped you being you. I've never had anything to do with this bloody clear up thing.
No, he never allows, and before I've got it out, he says he knows what I'm going to say. He doesn't know what I'm going to say. And it just annoys me. The two big passions in my life are people like that and people hurting other people, and he does both. I've really tried with him, and I thought we got through it.
During this time, Gwyneth and husband Patrick were on the point of leaving. Peter made efforts to try and talk things through, but they were not welcomed.
Hello, Peter. No, we'll just leave it as it is, mate.
You sure you've told Gwyneth what I said last night?
Just said what went on, and we just we don't want to speak.
Okay.
All right.
Fine. But later or?
I don't know. We just have to let things
But she's not
go
leaving.
on. Pardon?
She won't be leaving.
I don't know.
Okay.
We just don't know at the moment, Peter.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
So send her, most wishes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, up. Cheers.
It all reached a head 3 weeks later when, after a meeting about the implementation of rules, Gwyneth threw a cup of coffee over Peter.
I'm shaking because I'm so upset. When the ethos of this programme is this project is challenged, I want to have the right to be able to say so without Gwyneth implying that I'm a bastard.
So what happened? She just threw coffee in his face with no provocation, as far as I could see.
Because that night, all Peter said was that he was prepared to sign the document. She just threw the coffee straight in his face. What?
I'd rather not say it at the moment. I've had it up to here.
Very quick, Peter.
Peter is not a bastard.
Thank you.
I don't care what's going on. I don't know why Gwyn is not rational when she thinks about things with Peter. But he's not a bastard. He's a lovely man, and he's ever so shaken by this.
Thanks for your support.
It's all right.
Just very quickly tell me what happened, Peter.
I got some coffee thrown over me, that's all I want to say. Sorry.
Peter and Sheila have been incredibly hurt. Whereas Gwyneth is obviously very hurt because she feels bullied by Peter. Peter having a cup of coffee thrown over him and having two people leaving the island because of him is going to hit him incredibly hard.
Ultimately, Gwyneth couldn't go through with leaving.
I didn't want you to go and then think this is your year. But all you mean more, and that's what's come out of all this.
For 3 months, the pair avoided each other and didn't speak, until August, when Gwyneth approached Peter privately to discuss their difficulties.
It's a horrible feeling when you don't get on with somebody and it affects so many other people, and it's been really getting to me.
We haven't spoken till today. Very, very frosty atmosphere. We just avoided each other, and if she was in a room, she'd leave, or if I was in a room, I'd leave. Which is not a very nice thing to live with degrees of interaction, and that's now been going on since mid-June. So June, July, August, a long, long time.
It came out about, I thought he tended to think he was on a higher intellectual level than quite a few other people here, which he totally disagreed with.
And I said, I just think, you're yeah, I didn't say you're barking, but I just said, it's just not my attitude to you is not that. And, cross my heart and hope to die, just take my word for it. It isn't that at all. And gradually things began to improve, and I said, I would like an apology. I'd really like an apology. And she says to me, I'm not going to give it to you ever.
He asked for an apology from me for throwing the coffee over him. And I said I couldn't apologise, this sounds really silly. And I said I can't apologise to you. But I explained to him what led up to that.
Well, imagine if I'd thrown it at you. And she said, well, it was cold coffee. I mean, no, it wasn't logical. That wasn't the logic. But I said, no, it wasn't. It was warm and sticky, but that's irrelevant.
But I knew it wasn't hot. Even though it wasn't premeditated, I knew it wasn't hot. It just happened. It was pure frustration because he's battling words against me and not allowing me to say how I felt.
And in the end, I said, well, at least we can shake hands and beg to differ. And let's hope we can be more, friendly and more civil as we, we interact. And it's a nice way. It feels like a good weight off one's shoulders.
It's taught me a lot anyway here. It's taught me an awful lot. Yeah, I thought I was quite easy to listen to other people's point of view, and hopefully, manage to put that across to people, but I think it makes you self-examine here a bit harder, a bit more, and you see your watch, which you've always known were there, but you've got to try a lot harder here.
For the rest of the year, they've tolerated each other's differences. Gwyneth refused to speak again on the subject as she didn't want to go over old ground. But Peter was able to give his perspective of what he's learnt from the experience.
So I've learnt that one has to change one's tone, perhaps, be quieter, be more measured, be more withdrawn, be more quiet, maybe consult perhaps before sounding off. I don't know. But I don't regret. I mean, that's one of the weird things. I regret perhaps some of the fact that it seemed that I was too serious, but I was serious about this project. I regret perhaps sort of questions of tone, but I'll say it now. I do not regret what I said.
In normal life, you have your view of the world, and your view of the world you think is the right view of the world. And anyone else's view, if it concurs with what you think, then you agree with them and you take them on board and you agree with their ideas. If you don't like what you're hearing, then you tend to just reject things and say, don't like what you're saying. What's been really interesting here is that you haven't been able to do that as much. I haven't been able to say, my view is right, your view is wrong, I will not listen to your view. Because we've all been living together, we've all had to listen to one another's views. So perhaps our tolerance or our understanding of one another has become greater, and therefore we're more willing to sort of listen to one another.
With all the tensions, most castaways have found that exploring the island is a way of escaping from the intensity of the village.
It's a brilliant day, and I'm on holiday.
Mike Laird built his own shelter on the west tip of the island for a 2-week stay.
Sitting here, I am feeling brilliant. I'm feeling way better than I've felt for ages. I've been very tense and irritable in Payball, and I don't really know what it is. It may just be part and parcel of the project and trying to get along with people. Certain things you bottle up, certain things you let out. But I don't really want to, I don't want to be tense or... I just don't want to be that way. And I've come out here and I feel the bee's knees. I feel totally rejuvenated. I feel absolutely wonderful. This is what I came for. It's what I want. And I just wish I could do more of it.
The most popular place to get away from the intensity of community life has been a stone outhouse on the other side of the island known as the Bothy.
The famous Bothy.
It's lovely to get over there. There's a lovely little beach over there. You can just sit in there all day.
Brilliant. This year the Bothy's been like a chalet in a forest where people go to relax and get away from it. It's been a bit of a saver at times for people, I think.
So this is the kitchen. This is the first bedroom here.
This is the big double hammock. Master bedroom. The parents' bedroom, or the kind of like the naughty, no, the romantic kind of getaway bedroom if you come away for the weekend.
Looking back on the year, what have been the other favourite places on the island?
There are just so many. It's hard to know where to begin.
Has to be the Natural Arch. This is a natural rock arch which must have existed for thousands of years. It just gives you such a feeling of permanence and time.
Near the black houses, a little cove there, and it's a nice little place I like to go and look out to the sea, and I have a little talk to people back home there.
I've got this little hollow in the rocks, just up round the corner, where you can just sit and watch the sunset.
Down on the rocks, behind the pods. And I love it there because it brings memories of me dad, because my dad loved the sea. And I can sit there and feel really close to him.
My favourite place on the island is the Dun on the loch. Not so much because it's a very stunning place and huge, grandiose scenery, but in what's gone on there. It's been a haven, and we've been able to go there, lie on the raft, dream, sunbathe. It's been a wonderful scene.
I've been asked so many times in letters by my family, by other people on this island, have you fallen in love, Ben? Have you fallen in love? And I always go, no, I haven't. Of course I haven't. But I've changed my mind now. I have. I've fallen completely head over heels, completely, madly, deeply, passionately in love. But not on the island, with the island. I love it here. I absolutely love it.
At the start of the year, the castaways were given complete control over how they organised themselves. What have they learnt?
Tasha, what's your least favourite thing on the island?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know! Meetings!
Yeah! Good! Yeah, I'm going to say meetings too. Worst thing, boring meetings.
The way of green vegetables to eat at all.
I mean, sometimes I don't eat at weekends.
This figure here may include, on and on.
So that's one thing.
What is my view on community meetings? Generally, they are completely pants. If I never have to go to a meeting like that again, I will be extremely glad.
Best seen from the highest point of the island, and that is Ben Ra. That's what I think about the meetings.
Right, because organic supplies...
If it wasn't one meeting for 2 hours about a dog, it was another 2 hours about a dog.
Panel of 5 or whatever it is you do next.
A group of people who want to participate, to say their point of view, agree, disagree, then most of the time they go off and do their own thing.
And there's probably been more conflict in them than anything else, because it's when you've got everyone together.
No, don't finish. I'm going to finish. That is your experience.
We'll see. We'll see.
But if we didn't have the meetings to discuss these things, then nothing would ever be solved. So if all they are is a place to air emotions and feelings, then they've served a good purpose for that.
Meetings have been a bore, but they've been a really important thing.
You need some sort of forum whereby the community makes decisions, and that has been a forum. And I think to have not had them, then we wouldn't have really been running ourselves at all.
Right, so those against.
Community gatherings of a different sort. Birthdays have been one of the highs of the year. The methods of celebrating have forced people to reflect on life's priorities.
People make you feel so special on your birthday here.
Every single person that's had a birthday so far has been fussed over.
Happy birthday, dear Toby. What's been lovely about birthdays here is the amount of effort and time that has gone into people making things for other people.
Miracle mirror inside. There's fake hair. And it works. I'm a blonde.
I think when you've got limited resources and more time then on your hands, then people make more of special occasions.
And Tina actually asked around and found out where my favourite view was on the island before painting this for me.
Be more of a focal point as opposed to when, you know, you're at home and there's 101 things going on and it's someone's birthday, so that's just the 102nd thing, isn't it?
Tanya's birthday was a major event within the community and personally.
My birthday here was unlike any other that I've had, or I'm going to have, I think, in my life.
Happy birthday to you! How'd you feel?
It's revenge time, isn't it? Thank you so much for coming, everyone. It's really nice. No, that's enough. What it did as well, I suppose, was make me reflect a little on my friendships here. And it makes you realise quite how close I certainly have become to people here.
Just film this a moment.
There are people here that are going to be friends for life. And I'd have spent a year anywhere to get that.
But there were a couple of noticeable absences from the party.
Trevor and Trish aren't coming then? They're having a sort of romantic night at home, are they? Oh, right, okay.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah. You know the grandmas and grandpas that stay in bed the whole time?
Oh, yeah.
I can never believe that's Trevor and Trish. Every time I've been to see them, they've both been sat in bed.
The same bed or their own beds?
I wouldn't like to
Insinuate.
Leave it to your imagination.
As the year wore on, Trevor and Trish became more than just good friends.
We had a bet and Trish had to settle the bet, and we were in here and we kissed for the first time. And I was pretty good, but Trish was average. Sorry.
And then it was like Fantasia in here, wasn't it?
Yeah. Sparks everywhere.
It was like Fantasia, wasn't it? So that was the first night.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just through a kiss.
We just kissed and I went, and then I turned up next day and threw my lips on you.
And I thought, even though there was kind of music and cellos going and everything else, and I thought, oh God, that was so nice.
Yeah.
What was I drinking?
I had a cramp at the time.
Trevor left and I went to sleep, and then I woke up next morning and you go, oh my God!
See, that's usual.
Trish. I adore Trevor, and he knows it.
You adore me, do you? Yeah.
And they're all kind of close-knit.
Would their relationship have happened in the real world?
I think this is more real than the world I've come from. Because I feel that where I've come from was false and it was superficial. Where here, you actually get to know the people you want to get to know personally. So we'll have a few shots of where there's drinking. We come from two different worlds with two different priorities and two different morals. And at the end of it, we found, if you go down deep, at the end of the day, if you go down deep and you look hard enough, there is something that the both of you actually gel with. And from then, if you can stay there long enough, you can actually build it from there. But you might say to that. You get to a point in your life or the way you feel that you think this is it, and you're happy and you're comfortable, and I think Trish is it.
While Trish and Trevor's relationship is new, another couple have resolved their feelings for each other as they confess to a video diary.
Irresistible as ever. Alright, okay, enough of that. So now we are not split up.
Mm-hmm.
Are we?
No. We're better than we were.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that just my perception?
So we're back together.
It is different now.
Because you're more relaxed about it.
Yes.
Good.
And I love you more now.
Hear that, folks?
What?
So do I.
Good, I'm going red now.
It's not just the new couples who feel their relationships have been strengthened by the year.
Well, that was worth the walk.
What's that?
Just try that.
Is it home brew?
It's lovely.
I'll never regret this 12 months. I'll never, ever regret it. You know, it's been a wonderful opportunity.
I'll stick to my fruit juice. No,
Get some level wine down, you Gwyn.
No, honestly.
I always knew the man I came with, but I certainly appreciate him a hell of a lot more now. I did before. I respected him and loved him more than I thought I ever could, but now, I mean, he's one in a million. He really is. And he's helped me through a lot.
So what have others taken from the year?
I found out who I am this year. I've come away from family, friends, and just been thrown in quite a heavy situation and come out fighting. And in all honesty, when I first came here, I didn't overly like myself. But the more I look at it now, I've become, in my inner self, more relaxed and happy. I found more confidence and just generally not worry sometimes too much what other people think.
And have the highs outweighed the lows?
The positive aspects of this project have far outweighed the negative ones.
All the downs, all the lows, all the pants stuff that's gone on is easily outweighed by the good stuff.
Unquestionably, the highs have outweighed the lows, and I go away from the project with a great sense of success.
I came to learn practical stuff, which I think I've learnt a lot of. I think I've learnt a lot about people, more so than you ever would in a normal year. Probably learnt 10 times. I've probably got 10 years worth of experience with people.
It's enhanced my life beyond any belief that I could have had beforehand.
I'm looking forward now to trying to carve out a way of life which maximises that sense of time being time rich. Really, 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 really lovely.
I'm going to enjoy life now a lot more, where before I felt I was on that treadmill just running through, thinking that a Saturday night out was the be all and end all, where it isn't. I found an awful lot more than that.
As a year on the project, I can say that it's changed my life.
Tomorrow night on Castaway 2000, find out exactly how lives have been changed.
Anything else you want to discuss?
You marry me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not asking, am I?